Hi everyone, this is Marianne and welcome to my channel. Today is technically the 5th day of Christmas, so we are also going to look at pen number 5 of the 12 Pens of Christmas from everythingcalligraphy.com. Please make sure that you watch all the other videos in this series, and if you have any questions about any of the pens, make sure to comment down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Today we are going to look at the Faber Castell Loom. It comes in this beautiful, very understated and very elegant green box. I do like the color. It's very dark green. I think it's very close to the racing green ink. And Everything Calligraphy also sent me this matching paper bag together with the pen. And I do like how the Faber Castell logo has been embossed on the bag and on the box. Even if you don't get the paper bag, the box does look really, really good. And if you are the kind that keeps all of their original pen storage, it's a nice box to keep. And this is the pen. It is kept in place with a very thin black elastic, and what Everything Calligraphy sent me is the one with the medium nib, and it's the silver pen. This pen comes in many different colors, but the body or the barrel will always be silver. It's just the cap that will have different colors. The pen definitely looks very modern. This is the cap, and it has the Faber Castell name and logo engraved on it. The clip is made of a very, very shiny metal that matches the entire pen, and I do like how the clip matches the design of everything. It's very modern, clean lines, solid shapes. Now, the body of the pen is a matte silver, but it has a different texture than the matte silver of the cap, as you can see, and only the clip and the trim on the cap are shiny. All the rest are matte, and the body of the pen, or the barrel of the pen, is just a teeny tiny bit more shiny than the cap, but both the barrel of the pen and the cap of the pen are matte. I like that there are 3 different textures to this pen, but just one single color. Now the cap pops off, and this is the grip right here. As you can see, there are some raised lines on the grip, and I think that this is not just for aesthetic purposes. I think that these raised lines were made to provide a better grip on this section right here, because the material tends to get a little slippery. When I was going over the barrel of the pen with my fingers, I noticed that the material can possibly become slippery. If you can remember those very first generation iPhones with the silver aluminum backs, the same aluminum that was on the PowerBooks at that time, it was 2007. Those iPhones are very, very slippery because of the material that is used in the back, and I think that it is the very same feel as the barrel of this pen, so it can get pretty slippery. That is why I think that the raised lines are on the grip to provide us with a better grip on the grip, so that the pen is not going to slip out of our hands too easily when we are writing with it. Let us take a moment to appreciate the nib design on this pen. It looks really, really beautiful. It does not have a breather hole, it just has the slit. And here is the back of the nib. The fins are even. And notice the dots that are arranged in a diagonal order on the surface of the nib, and then the nib size is engraved on it. It's the medium nib. I think this nib design looks very, very sleek, very, very modern, and it fits so well with the overall design of the pen. One thing I have noticed about this pen is that it's not very easy to get the cap off. The cap pops off, and normally with fountain pens, we just use one hand to pop off the cap, but it's not very easy to do that with this particular fountain pen. Now you can use the tip of the clip as leverage to push the cap off of the pen, but I don't really recommend doing that over and over because it can dislodge the entire clip assembly off the top of the cap of the pen. So it's better to just use your other hand to grab the cap and wrestle it from the pen. Now let's have some definite measurements. When the pen is capped, the length comes to about 13 centimeters. When the pen is uncapped, it is 12 centimeters long. And when the cap is posted, the pen is about 15.5 centimeters long. I would say that the pen is very nicely built. I like the clean lines of it, and it feels and looks very, very solid. It is not a very heavy pen. It's made of a very, very light material, but I like the way it sits on my hand even when it's posted. This is a little bit wider than my preferred pens, but it's comfortable enough to grip. And I really, really like the look of the different silver finishes. I like that the entire pen is just one same color all throughout, but with 3 different finishes. I really like that the glossy silver were kept to a minimum. It's just the clip, the nib, and the very fine trim on the cap that is a glossy silver, and the rest is matte. And I tried to adjust my grip on the pen. I tried moving my fingers up a little bit because I think that some people might find it problematic that there are raised lines on the actual grip of the pen. But gripping the pen in this area, it feels slippery, you guys. So I think this just confirms my suspicion that those raised lines on the actual grip of the pen is done not just for an aesthetic purpose, but to sort of make it more comfortable for us to grip the pen, and really not just make it feel more comfortable, but also to give us that sense of security that this pen is not going to slip out of our grasp. I do prefer writing with fountain pens without posting the caps, and without the cap posted, this pen feels even much lighter than it already was with the cap posted, and I really like the look of it. I like that the entire barrel is straight up and down, except for that very small part in which it narrows to meet the nib. I think it looks really, really modern. I think it looks really cool. I can probably do the hold the cap in my other hand while writing with it, but even with the cap posted, it is almost just as comfortable as writing with it unposted. Now, this pen did not come with a converter, but when I opened it up, it had that sort of like plastic sleeve inside. I don't really know what it's for, but the barrel also had this short ink cartridge. So we are going to use this ink cartridge in testing out the pen. To use an ink cartridge, you simply take the end that has that little protrusion and then pop it into the section and then push down firmly until you either hear or feel a pop, and then you can screw the barrel into the grip. I needed to work the pen a little bit to get the ink flowing after I loaded the ink cartridge onto it. and it was pretty okay at this point. I do not like the color of the ink. I'm assuming that this is the Faber Castell blue in ink cartridge form, but once again, this is not a video about the ink. This is a video about the pen, so we are going to focus on the pen. At this point, I was ready to conclude that this pen performs reasonably well. There's nothing extra special about its performance, but as an ordinary fountain pen, I could tell at this point that it delivers. I tried to see if the pen can write properly and consistently using its own weight alone, and at this point I could see that it does, and the pen actually lays down a sufficiently wet line. You will be able to see from this particular camera angle that the pen writes reasonably well. And if the ink does not really show much shading after it dries, I think it's because of the ink and not because of the pen, because the pen itself writes wet. However, as I continued to write and write and write with this pen, it started to skip. And you will be able to see it in the next line that I am going to write. It skipped, and then I encircled that letter in which it skipped. It skipped on the downstroke of the letter G, and then it also skipped on the downstroke of the letter T and the upstroke on the letter S, which I also encircled. So it did skip on 3 different points on that particular handwritten line that I just wrote. But I continued to write with it still, to observe how the pen performs as I went along, and then it continued to skip. On the next line, it skipped again. It skipped on the bar of the uppercase T, and I encircled that. But you know, I cannot completely fault this pen for skipping, because really I might be using this pen coming from a brand new status, which means that it might still have some manufacturing oils on the nib, which can easily be removed if I soak the nib in a cup of ordinary tap water with a few drops of dishwashing liquid. I did not do that step, and there is a school of thought in fountain pens that believes that all fountain pens should be able to write well out of the box. However, the reality is that sometimes pens have residual oils from manufacturing, and while I am happy to encounter pens that write perfectly out of the box without any soaking required, whenever I do encounter a pen like this that skips because I didn't soak it, I really don't take it against the pen. Some fountain pens need a little bit of priming and preparation more than others, and this particular pen that we are looking at right now could be one of those pens. Another factor to consider is the ink. I'm assuming that this is the Faber Castell ink in cartridge form, but just because it's the same brand as the pen doesn't really ensure that it's the optimal combination of pen and ink. With a problematic nib, usually a very watery, well-behaved ink helps in easing the problem. Like the Waterman inks are usually the ink that is loaded into a pen that has certain flow issues or skipping issues, and it helps a lot. So I am not going to dismiss this pen completely because of skipping issues. Although we cannot deny the fact that skipping is a major issue in pens, it's extremely annoying and it's very, very bothersome, and skipping issues definitely need to be addressed in pens. But when it comes to skipping, Solutions are usually very simple and they don't require any additional tools to resolve. So, in conclusion, what can I say about this pen? I definitely like how it looks. I like the thought that went into the aesthetic design of this pen. I do like that it comes in one color and then there are 3 different textures. Of course, if you get the other colors, it is the cap that will be of a different color, but it will be of the same matte texture as this silver one. It's just going to be a different color. And I will link down below the exact page at the everythingcalligraphy.com website where you can see all of the colors that this pen comes in, and they are, I believe, available at the everythingcalligraphy.com online store. I don't like that it's difficult to get the cap off the pen, and it's also just as difficult to get the cap back onto the pen, so that's a minus in my assessment of this pen. And of course it skips, and that's another minus. But if you're able to find a solution to that, that is going to stop being a minus. I do like the design of the nib on this pen, but well, if the nib skips, it doesn't matter how pretty it looks. It really just is a bad nib. Overall, I am not sure if I want to recommend this pen. I can forgive the extremely tight cap, but the skipping, if you're a very patient person and you like finding solutions to problems like skipping nibs, then go ahead and be my guest. But if you really just want a pen that writes completely well right out of the box and does not give you any problems, this pen might not make you happy. It's a pity because it looks really, really good, you guys. It looks really, really good. Well, those are my opinions on this pen. This is pen number 5 of the 12 Pens of Christmas from everythingcalligraphy.com. Remember to check out the Everything Calligraphy website, which I have linked down below. And remember to also check out the other videos that I have in this series. And of course, if you have any questions or anything to tell me or share with me about any of these pens, please just leave a comment down below and I'll talk to you there. And this is my video for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you catch me again tomorrow for pen number 6. Thanks for watching and Merry Christmas!